Building a family can be a complicated, messy, lonely, and sometimes heartbreaking process. But you don't have to navigate this challenging journey alone.
Welcome to the All Paths podcast, where we support and celebrate all of the different ways there are to try to grow your family. We are your hosts, Kate and Emily, from the nonprofit organization All Paths Family Building. And today we're talking with our friend Kristen about her journey. Kristen, thank you for joining us today.
It's such a pleasure to be here. You are so amazing, and All Path is such a place of comfort and healing. So I'm so grateful to be here today.
Thank you so much. Before we get into talking about your family building journey, I would love if you would introduce yourself for our listeners.
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Darcy. I've been working within it's a fertility industry now, before way back when I started having my challenges. It was so isolating, and I had gone through so much. And at one point, I thought, oh my gosh, no other woman should feel this way. And before I get into so much, but at that time, I had my own learning center. So I was surrounded by children every day. And for me, that was just pure nirvana. 51 little children from infants all the way up to 7. And then, I couldn't do what everybody else could do so naturally. And it shifted me in ways I, didn't even know could occur. And now fast forward decades, I'm still, helping people through this challenge, transitioning from being single to being in the parenthood world. So that's how come we're sitting here today. I have 3 books, Girlfriend, a Girlfriend, a Fertility Companion, because I feel like even though the quote unquote industry is so loud now, the emotional component of getting a diagnosis of infertility is really trackable. It's really the same for so many women, but you still feel that you're so isolated and alone in this pain. So I wrote Girlfriend, a Girlfriend, a Fertility Companion, and then Love and Infertility, which is really a wink wink about how to remain in that energy of self-love. And finally, with my cohort Sara, we wrote Making Dads, which really just focused on everything a guy needs to know when they receive this diagnosis of infertility.
Wonderful. And I still have my signed copy of Love and Infertility on my
Oh,
bookshelves, but so we'll definitely be talking about those in more detail. But
yay.
let's start with your own journey. Where did it all begin?
Well, I was, running my own business. I was this woman who could, own her own house and be the president of the Chamber of Commerce. And then when it became time for me to, start creating my family, it just didn't happen. And so like months tricked into years. And then, came out of the bedroom into, surgery and procedures, and really lost myself to the process. And it was such a dramatic change from let's get going, let's make things happen, to really, not recognizing any part of me. But for me, it was like the emotional component. I had surgeries, had IUIs, and then got that call, you're pregnant. And it was an ectopic pregnancy. So the day before Thanksgiving, you know, I was in an ambulance going for emergency surgery, which right now, looking back in our current day of how things are, I can't imagine being in that situation, being so critical. It was a critical situation and being denied care. So I think we are getting louder about this because of the current state, because of the lack of understanding, because of, we don't need to go into that, but it's just so, heartbreaking. So after that, after my loss and the physical challenges after, because there's no conversation, and I didn't realize I was going to go off on this, but there's no conversation about the debilitating after the surgery, after the intervention. They're talking about this like it's a drive-through surgery that us women are seeking out, but it is radical invasive surgery that you have complications afterwards. So it took probably 6 months for me to recover. And the kicker of it is it's all invisible. So when you receive this diagnosis of infertility, you go through all of this, it's invisible. You're up, you're dressed, you have your makeup on, you're going to work, you're managing life. And from the outside looking in, you look normal, quote unquote. But it's an inside job. And that's my calling, I think, to help women repeatedly connect to that fortitude, that inside energy, that heart wisdom that no one can ever take away.
Mm-hmm. I love the heart wisdom phrase. And so after you healed physically from that loss, then what type of fertility treatment did you pursue after that?
We're still in fertility treatments. And then I got pregnant with my son, and he's actually 26 now. So, I've been around in this world for a long time and saw the beautiful changes, the beautiful options, the expansion of it. And so then, you don't know what you don't know. And my son was 5 and I still couldn't, you know, conceive. And I was 35 when I had him, and I was screeching to 40. And I was basically told, well, you have secondary infertility and, you're an older mother. And, you know, I I made a commitment to start IVF again. And, I'm one of those girls. I started everything that was right for me. And what I know now that I wish I knew then was that, there's that sub fertility. You never know what one thing is going to make that combination lock open for you. And so before the actual injections, I began acting as if I was pregnant. And something happened that I found myself pregnant with my daughter, Grace. And so she's 21 now. So it was a really long journey to create my family, and I wouldn't go back and do anything differently. And something you, Miss Kate, said a long time ago in one of our presentations together, it's like your eye color. It just becomes part of you. It's your unique journey. And I feel like we're responsible to turn around and offer a hand up for our sisters who are coming up behind us.
Yeah, for sure. And brothers.
And brothers, and
Yeah.
anyone who's in this situation. Sorry, I didn't mean to not say
No, no,
brotherhood,
I'm
but
joking. I'm
but
joking, but I know you support everyone. So that's why I just wanted to add that. I mean, I'm really struck by what you said that just in those, over 2 decades, so much has changed clinically, which is amazing. A lot of it is for the better, and it is exciting. And yet, I think the core kind of elements of the emotional journey really are the same, and that I don't think access to support has grown as much as what the clinical advancements have been. And so it's so great that resources like those that you provide are still available, are available and hopefully growing, because the need is going to be there emotionally always, no matter what. And what were the biggest supports that helped you during your own, journey to grow your family?
Well, this would probably be part of the cautionary tale because I was always like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm not infertile. I would not accept that. But the only thing that really it it was all pass before when it was resolved. You used to get a paper newsletter before it was online, and literally I was like a stalker. I would read everything and not join in. I wasn't going to join because that meant it was really bad, and that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. And it wasn't till it got on my knees, can't get back up again, that I was like, okay, I need to join. And I'm not chastising anyone who is like stalking behind the screen, or because you need to do you. Like I am so there for whatever part of the journey you need, whatever support. And that's why I feel sometimes so overwhelmed when I'm on Instagram or Facebook with everything that's offered, because it's like a fire hose and it's overwhelming for me. And I'm one of the quote unquote professionals in it. So I think to create those systems within you that, okay, right now, this is what I think would help me the most, and then do that. And really, really empower yourself as your own advocate, because you're the only one that knows. You're the only one that is within your whole body system and knows what's best for you.
What you can handle and what you feel like you can't handle and what you need
Mhm.
most. Yeah, no, there no judgment to the stalkers. By the way, that's the best kind of stalker, is one who's like eagerly anticipating our publications. Um, but I was the same way. I regret so much looking back that I didn't do more to support myself, and I didn't attend one of our conferences until I already was parenting and was pretty much, done building my family. And I regretted it so much. I thought the conference was so awesome. And I'm like, why did I come to this years ago? But you can't go back. I don't believe in being too hard on yourself. So just
Yeah.
want to second like that what you need at a given time and what you access is the right thing at that time, because it is what you could handle at that time. Our biggest thing is we want to make sure people know about these options and make the choice.
Mhm.
It breaks our heart when we hear, oh, I wish I knew about that. I would have done it, but I didn't know about it. That's what breaks our heart. But things like this podcast help with that.
They sure do. And I think, you and I, we share the same, and Emily, like I have no competition. Like we just want to support people the way that they need it. And if I'm not a match for someone who finds me, then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I know who you should talk to. So I think once you put your toe in the water and maybe test it with whoever you feel resonates with you, that will open up this whole wellspring of information.
Yeah, 100%. So I know you've talked a little bit about, the impact that the journey had on your relationship with yourself, but I mean, you've literally written the book about how much a family building journey can affect relationships, with your partner, with friends, with extended family. Can you talk a
Right.
little bit about what your experience was like when you were going through it?
Sure. I think everything shifts. It just shifts, and it's temporary, and they'll come back. But I hosted when a little while ago a group for women going through infertility and their friends. And it was really for everybody just to have permission to say what you need, to let
I
the
love
other
that.
person know what you need. One of the strategies within love and infertility is the honey-do list, because a lot of people, they don't know what to ask, and you might feel overwhelmed and tired about saying what you need. But if you would just, the honey-do list is really writing 3 things that you need from that person and exchange it, because I feel like for me personally, a lot of people looked at me like I was broken, like didn't want to ask me to do things that would be typical and within a relationship, which made me feel even worse because, I show up for everyone. That's part of, how I show love is showing up for other people. But I don't know if you were in that situation that you could see it in people's eyes, like, oh, they're just not going to ask you because they feel like you're overwhelmed. And it's appreciated. But I think being brave enough to communicate what you need and doing it in a way that you feel comfortable with. Maybe it's texting someone, okay, for the next week, we're not going to talk about family building. I have my transfer, but I'll let you know when I know instead of asking. You know, I think sometimes we under communicate and when we're hurt and our emotions are tender and raw, you know, you have to do the just go into over communication. I remember after I lost the baby the day before Thanksgiving, that whole holiday season, I just opted out. And it was really, really hard for everybody around me. And I was like, nope, I'm not putting up a Christmas tree. I'm not attending. I don't look to me to be there because I like miss Christmas. And it was really hard, I think, more for other people than for me because I was all good cocooning. And what I adopted was, 10 years from now, it's really not going to matter. And you know what? Kate and I can attest, it's 10 years out. And I don't think people in my circle even remember I opted out. And I think it goes back to doing what you need to do at that moment.
Mhm.
Not scorched earth, but maybe scorched earth, but doing what you need to do at that moment.
Depends.
Yeah.
So,
In time. Um,
mhm.
I don't know if that answered the question, but I really feel that
Yeah.
emotionally, it's okay to flex your muscle and ask for what you need and expect it.
I love the 10-year out perspective too, because I feel like you get so lost in the minute to minute details that go into family building. You're sitting there saying like, okay, this injection has to be done within the next 60 seconds, or maybe I screwed something up. So being able to even just take a step back far enough to say, oh, there will be something 10 years from now. I don't know what it will be like, but everything, all the little minutia that you're dealing with right now won't necessarily matter as much. As I can imagine that felt very freeing, but also it's a really hard perspective to get to.
It was, and you know what? We all survived. It was okay. It was okay. You made me think of something because when all of that was going down in the heat of the really dark night of the soul moment for this journey, so you got to think, it was probably 5 years in, 6 years in that this was going down. So, fatigue, emotional fatigue comes in. Something happened that I went out and purchased a little doll that was a Cabbage Patch. And I put it in my hallway so that every time I walked in and out, and it was in a place that I saw in my hallway, up the stairs, or in and out of my house. And every time I saw the doll that I bought for this baby that was coming, I would take a moment and put my hand in my heart and just say, I know you're coming. I know you're coming. Through me or to me, I know. I just know it. And sometimes it was just plain BS. I was just faking it until I made it. And other times it was like, I know it. Every part of me knows it. Every part of me knows that this next baby's coming to me. And that little baby doll sat there, 2 or 3 years, but it was peaceful to me when I saw it. It was that hopeful thing. I think if you have that one object that when you can hold or see or feel or just know that there is a beginning, middle, and end to this, and it's going to end. You know, it's twisty turvy and different than what we think, but it's going to come to an end. this, we can all promise it's going to come to an end
in some way.
in some way.
Yeah. And so, how did your own personal experiences change your professional trajectory and life?
I didn't think I would, you know, I'm not a writer. I was a preschool teacher. I did not think I would be writing and speaking and sharing and going back to school to learn, to coach and mentor. It totally changed. And it's kind of, ironic, the parallel path, right? Because here I was thinking, I'm going to run this preschool learning center until I retire, and have this staff and, take care of all these beautiful babies. And it just twisted and turned. And I think us women, we have such resilience and such, way of pivoting, and shifting and changing, fill a need, see a need, fill a need. And so it changed everything actually, Kate. I don't usually think of it like that, but it did.
Yeah. And like you were saying, on the one hand, like working at a preschool was so wonderful because you loved kids, and that's part of why you wanted to be a mom so much. But then I'm sure while you were struggling, working at a child-centered business like that can be so painful. I mean, we talk to people who are teachers and nurses and labor and delivery, nurses, and it's like, oh, you're kind of in the face of what you want for yourself literally every single day.
I know. And it's just, how do you balance that? How do you handle that? It's tough. I had a recent client who was an OBGYN doctor, and we know, like, we don't have to go down the line of going in that room when people were pregnant and you were, being diagnosed or whatever.
Yeah, it's so hard. So yeah, talk about your coaching. I mean, I'm biased, but you have a wonderful approach. So yeah, tell us about your coaching practice. And also, I just want to say truly, I feel like you're so generous with your time. We have people within our community that come to us and they say like, I would love to be a fertility coach now that I've gone through my own experience, and they want to learn about what they need to do to train for such a thing or to market themselves. And you're so generous and kind to talk to them. And there are some people who would be like, oh, I'm not going to help my competition or like help the next budding fertility coach, but you've never reacted that way, which is just a testament to you. So yeah, tell us about your practice, because I know you're still providing this
I
service for fertility and more.
and more. Yeah, it's really woman wellness. And, at first it was really, um, fertility based, to help people come up with their fertility plan and what they need emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally to move through it. A lot of my recent training is real energetic, energetic, spiritual, more holistic approach. And, way back when I first started coaching, I attended Ali Domar's training and testified in front of the Senate about how, we really need funding for women's health, but also for the holistic approach to this. Kate, I know you know my story. And like when it first started, I was like Cinderella trying on all the holistic modalities, craniosacral therapy and acupuncture and the herbs and, yoga, the massage, you name it. I was doing it and I was like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, because you think, if you're not doing something, you're not going to get pregnant. So it's really part of my, offering and coaching is really to help find that balance, and empower from within. And I'm a little bit different because, I don't know if I'm still old school. Like, I don't make people sign up for months and pay ahead. And, it's really, we work together, we figure out what you can afford, how you can do it. Sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's every other week, maybe I'm a monthly, connect. And then when you start cycling again, it's weekly. So it's creative, it's flexibility, what the person needs. But it's I find that part of what helped me so much was that one-on-one connection. It's really, for me, and that's why I'm still offering it. It's going to be a little bit different in 2025. I have, limited availability, but I'm still offering that.
That's wonderful. It's so important, right, to find that connection, to have those people that you can talk to about everything that you're going through. And it's really lovely that you're so kind of flexible about how you offer support, because everyone's journey is different and everyone needs support in different ways. So it makes sense that you'd be able to provide that in such a, unique way.
We have a
Uh,
mute, I have another friend who does fertility coaching, and my clients have my cell phone, and she's like, I cannot believe that you give your clients your cell phone. I'm like, why? If they need me, they can text me. But I find that women are just amazing. Like nobody abuses that. It's in, and I respect that if you say help me or SOS or call me back, it's for a reason. So I think, I might not be a match for for you, but I can help you find someone, that it would be. And I think that we all share that spirit. It's really to uplift and support and get people where their dreams are.
if anyone was interested in getting in touch with you, what's the best way to connect?
They can go through my website, kristendarcy.com.
And we'll put the link to that in the show notes.
And
Yeah.
social media too. We'll put that in.
Yeah.
And what are your favorite resources to share with people?
I love you. So usually that's the first thing, just sharing your website because you're such a portal to everything else. I love I share, Seattle Sperm Bank, and CCRM, I have my peeps that, I have on quick dial in case, hey, I have this case, I need some help. But I think it's kind of like Kevin Bacon, once you get hooked in, the
True.
7 degrees to Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon,
100%.
we could get you what you need, so.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you. That wasn't like a softball pitch for you to suggest all paths,
that
but
was
you're
planned
very
ahead of
sweet.
time. I
No,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
No, of
Thank
course
you. Checks in the
not.
mail. Checks in the mail, Kristen. Thank you so much.
No, I think we've done this for so long that we know, like, I'm like, let me call Kate. She'll be able to tell me we can find that for you, or there's divine connections in this, because I know if I call you, Emily or Kate, like you're on it, we're like, we're gonna find the solution or support.
Yeah, we'll certainly try for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Well, one thing that I think has improved too over the years, like you were saying, that people kind of like don't accept the lack of information that they get sometimes. The thing I feel like I've been seeing a lot lately, which I'm happy to see, is people pushing on the quote unquote diagnosis of unexplained infertility.
I love that. I
Yeah.
I love that because maybe that's the positive side to everything that's going on, that we're just not going to accept what doesn't feel right. Way back when I had a repeat histosapenogram, and they were saying to me, well, you're old and you have no tubal function. And I remember just standing up to the doctor and saying, don't talk to me like that. We're not going to talk like that. Because there are things that they don't know that they don't know. And it was it was amazing to me. Not that I'm a Golden Globe girl, but I just read something that Demi Moore said, that somebody said something to her a long time ago and she carried it. And isn't it amazing that my children are in their 20s and I still can see that image of being told you're old and it's not going to happen to you, and you have no tubal functioning. And lo and behold, they were wrong. And I think it's really important to get to a point that you have that this is a no. Like you have that inner connection. Like, is this a no or a yes for me? How do you access if the information you're getting is a no or a yes for you. And if you get a big no, then act on that. No, that's not right. Like when they were saying that to me, I'm like, that's not right. I know it's not right. And when I said it, they're like, well, there's your black and white.
Yeah.
And years later, it was, well, that your tubes could have been in spasm. Well, you never said they could have been in spasm. You said there was no functioning.
Yeah. No,
So
it's so true. It's so true. And then I say, like, the movie Pretty Woman, where they're mean to her in the store. And so then
yeah,
she goes and shops somewhere else. And then she comes back with the bags. I always feel like there's like the fertility equivalent is like walk in with baby Grace and be like, really? I guess my tubes worked,
how do you
bro.
explain this, dude? How do you explain this? Well, we don't, up there. Well, then say that. Like, I think I love that what you said, Kate, that people are questioning the unexplained.
Explained. Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, I think not all, but a lot of those are like undiagnosed endometriosis
Autoimmune.
or undiagnosed other things that
Yeah,
don't get the attention they deserve either.
right.
And but I really have been seeing a lot of people questioning that and pushing back, and then a lot of people supporting each other like online and other places about, oh yes, keep pushing, keep asking, keep learning. And I just love to see that.
Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, you still remember that moment. Not only is this process so impactful on, your family and how that looks for the rest of your life, but the things that you're told about your own body, you can really internalize and carry with you. So, and those can be really heavy. So it makes sense to say, like, yeah, hey, you might be giving me information that's less than ideal, but let's think about the way that we're actually sharing that information. What words are you going to internalize and carry with you? Are they going to be heavy, or are they going to say, okay, not ideal, but let's see if we can figure out a way to, make our goals happen and not be psychologically scarred in the process.
Right. And part of the coaching that I do is really like, well, how do you like to receive information? And then when you're basically finding a match for you for a doctor, you have that conversation, or you bring me in to have the conversation with the doctor or whoever to say, okay, this is my client. She really loves, or he really loves to receive information like this. Is that doable for you?
That's really powerful.
It is very powerful. And it's kind of like what we've learned, our bruises that are healed or under the surface can help somebody else avoid that bruise. I would never have thought, how do I want to receive this information? Because I was always in a panic waiting for the call to come.
Mhm.
There wasn't that oxygen or awareness of like, oh, I can control this. I can control how I get this information. I am in control because I can speak personally. I felt out of control about it. It was out of the bedroom, out of my body, out of control. That's not true. That's totally not true.
100%. So I mean, we could talk to you for days, but we should start wrapping up today's episode. But before we go, we have two questions that we like to ask everyone who comes on this show. So the first question, and you can answer them in whatever order you like, is what is one thing that you would say to someone who is just starting to grow their family? And the flip side is what's something that you wish people would stop saying to people who are growing their families?
I think I would like to start with stop saying. And the one, when I read that, I immediately went to, well, at least you know. Because after my loss, that's what people said. Well, at least you know you can get pregnant. And at least you know you can try again. Well, at least you know. That's, to me, that's not helpful. It's not helpful because when I was in that position, yeah, I knew, I lost a baby. I knew I could have got, I got pregnant, but that wasn't helpful. What could be helpful is I'm here for you, I'm here to support you, or just standing there. At least you know. that for me was hard to swallow. I don't know if you were on the receiving end of that.
100%. And it was surprising how many medical professionals said that. I'm like, this, you would think you would have a better response to the situation.
I know. At least should be wiped out. That I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody else has brought that one up, but that hit me.
At least in general is usually not helpful. And it's like, it makes some statements that might be okay without the at least, but the at least just makes me like feel like, why am I not allowed to be sad? You know,
Yeah.
Right.
because I'm
It's so
sad.
invalidating.
Yeah, it's so invalidating. Yeah.
And what I would tell, we kind of touched on in our conversation, but you know, just do that one thing every day that reminds you about how powerful you are and how you are enough. What is that one thing every day that will make you feel, man, I got it. I'm good. I'm good with myself. And it changes, that one nurturing thing every day. Commit to doing that.
I know, like yours, I think a lot is like getting out in nature, and
Yeah.
getting out in your beautiful town that you live in, and just getting that little bit of sunlight on your face, or looking for sea glass or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, have a cup of tea all by yourself in the morning, or
Mhm. Oh,
pray about
yeah.
your spirituality. What's one thing that you can fill yourself up with? Because when you are a parent and you have that in your practical routine, you're going to need that. Nobody, I was so focused on trying to that there was some organic interruption into, oh my God, I am, right?
Hmm.
So what us, women and men need to do is, what do you need to be nurtured and filled up so you can pour into everybody else's cup? So that would be my two.
I love that.
I know for me back then, if someone said to me, do one thing, a day to fill yourself up, I would be like, when do I have time? I'm working full time and trying to have a baby. Put it in what you're already doing.
Hmm.
Like when you're in your shower, take a few moments of mindfulness at a stop sign, just breathe for a few minutes. You know, you can insert it in already your daily activities, so you can do it. I promise you can do it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kristen, for chatting with us. And I mean, thank you for everything that you do for this community. We're
Uh,
so honored to have you as part of our All Paths family and to get to collaborate with you on all the various different projects we've done over the years. And looking forward to seeing what the next adventure is.
yeah, thank you so much. I'll continuously be in awe of both of you for everything that you do for everyone. So thank you so much.
We hope you'll join us next time for more family building stories and resources. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you never miss an episode. And follow us on social media at All Paths FB, or visit our website, allpathsfb.org, for more information about our work.
Our annual Footsteps for Family Building walk is less than a month away. We walk to make sure that no matter how difficult the path gets, no one is ever alone on their journey. Today, we want to thank the Lemon Grove Doula Agency and Perinatal Wellness Collaborative for being a leader sponsor of our walk. If you've been supported by the Lemon Grove along your journey, you can donate to or join their walk team using the link in today's show notes.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. Please help spread the word so that anyone who is struggling to grow their family can join the conversation. It's an honor to walk with you on your family building journey.